Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Satsang. It's great to be here with you. It's been 3 weeks. It was only supposed to be 2, but last week it was not working all that well for me, and it took me a while to recover from whatever it was. But anyway, I'm back, and I'm very glad to be here with you all, and glad to see so many people are anxious for satsang. You showed up early and had conversations with one another. I saw that. Anyway, the subject I chose to just kind of go off on today, or it chose me, I'm not really sure which. I have to tell you, normally when I'm putting together the live stream, right, setting everything up, it's just, here's the subject, and I just put it in, and I don't even think about it. But whenever the word God appears in the subject that comes to me, I have to stop for a second because it's such a loaded word. Now, many of you have probably recognized that I'm using the term a lot more of late. I'm kind of, I guess, on a mission to reclaim it, right, from the hands of the evangelicals, God, right, and bring it back to what it was originally supposed to mean. But the same thing is true about the word mind, right? And so I wanted to kind of begin to explore this. I wanted to try to break down our assumptions about things. Because when we get an assumption, we get a concept that we take as the truth and hold on to it, it creates suffering. We get stuck. We get stuck in a particular point of view. And when I think that this is what it is, we don't even know that we're stuck in a point of view because our perceptions shape themselves around it to such a degree that it feels as if it's actually true. Right? No concept you have is true. Let's just get that out of the way right at the beginning. No concept you hold about anything is the truth of it. It is always a reduction. It is always just an approximation. It is never the fact. Now, most of you who've been around me for a while know that usually when I use the word mind, I'm referring to the conceptual mind, the psychological mind. The mind that is simply an abstraction, a word used to summarize and represent this ongoing flow of thoughts. And that in and of itself, it doesn't exist, right? Separate from the flow of thoughts, it doesn't exist. That's the way I normally use it. That's the way the teachers in my lineage have done it. Even Ramana Maharshi, that's how he referred to it. That it was always in reference to nothing but the flow of thoughts. But there have been other versions of it. There have been other ways in which it was used. There's a beautiful passage from Huang Po, who was around the 8th century, a Zen master. And the start of this little book I've read, it simply says, all of the Buddhas and all sentient beings are the one mind, outside of which nothing exists. Now, that's probably a word what I would normally use would be the word consciousness, self-awareness. But there's a value to recognizing that to that entire tradition, it's referring to the one mind. The mind that is, well, you might even think of it as the creative power of the self, the capacity of the self for intelligence, for creativity, for self-reflection, and for all of creation. Because to Zen, well, to me as well, the entire universe is thought. Now, we can get lost in that word thought because we think of thought as being here, right? We only refer to thoughts as this activity that appears to be on this side of the skin. But that's not how they saw it at all. There was no in or out. when you looked at an object, anything, pick an object, right? Pick it up and look at it. You are looking at it in mind. It is an image in mind. It does not exist outside of mind. And so that mind, in fact, is the Buddha. He says that elsewhere. The Buddha is none other than your own mind. Now ponder that for a moment. Thinking of all the enlightened masters that you may know of. Pick any one, doesn't matter. Buddha, Christ, Shankara, Ramana, doesn't matter which one you pick. Where do they actually exist? We want to think of them as a personage who lived in a particular time and did particular things and had a deep understanding, or were an enlightened being. But according to Huang Po, all enlightened beings are nothing but your own mind. So you can see it's a completely different way of looking at it. And it's a useful one, because I found that the word consciousness can get a bit clinical. I mean, I had a comment on YouTube recently about somebody asking a question about consciousness. And the question was good. It was a legitimate question. But what I noticed, and I pointed out, is that he was examining consciousness as if it was this thing, this object over there that I'm looking at. I said, well, which is it? Is consciousness the thing looking at the thing you're looking at? Or what is looking? It has to be what is looking. So in that sense, we could use the term mind as the self. We could use it interchangeably. The pure mind, or again, in Buddhism, they're referred as to the great perfect mirror mind. That capacity of the mind, of the self, to manifest itself as form. I'm going to move up a little bit because the camera keeps shaking. Now, the next part, one mind, one being, and one God. We divide being into beings. We think of individuals as individual beings. And I'll often refer to that, right? I will use that as a way of talking about things. Yeah. But I don't ever use the word souls. It's some multiple souls, right? Because there's only one. I mean, you can use soul as another one thing, right, that appears to be many things. Like one mind appears to be many minds. One life appears to be many lives. But the essential oneness of it, the essential unity of it, is what we have to come to intuitively grasp in our hearts and in our bodies, that there's only one being. And it starts by recognizing that nothing exists outside of your mind. There isn't anything else out there. Everyone you know, everything you have or have experienced, are nothing but images within this one mind. We just think that this one mind is personal. So when I say this one mind is myself or yourself, you think I'm referring to a person. If you refer to a person, you get a solipsism, which is nuts, right? That's the ego, the sense of a separate self, trying to think of itself as being the only thing that exists. You can't do it. But yet the being that you are experiencing, and you can't deny your own existence, right, is one. The being you're experiencing and the being I'm experiencing, right? The you and the I are simply conventions of language. They don't exist. There's only this one. And traditionally, in religious terms, that has been named God. And once that word God got intertwined with culture and authority and organization and specialization and all the things that happened, it became the supreme other. Everything about being and mind and love and truth was projected onto this imaginary being. that somehow exists outside of me. Where can God exist except within your own mind? So then what is the source of God? What is the source of truth? What is the source of being? What is the source of mind? It's you. You are that. Inconceivable, irreducible, indivisible. You cannot know it or fathom it. But you can look around and see it is all myself. It says in, I can't remember which Gita it's in. It says, all this is myself, for it is all poured forth from me. Everything is the conceptions of the one mind, not concepts as ideas, but the concept of the one mind is reality itself. All experience, the universe, is the mind of God. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I wasn't quite sure where this one was going to go, or when it would end, but I'm going to let it go now and just say hello again, everybody. Welcome to Satsang. While I sip on my milk latte. I reuse the cups, by the way. I make my own, and I reuse these cups as long as they last. They're very useful. Reducing my carbon footprint. Yeah. Roberto, so good to see you, my friend. SP Weasel, who we now know is Andy in Texas. Hi, Andy. There's Rosario, also in Madrid. And Azgur, am I saying that correct? Hello from Turkey. And hello, Ursula, Madeira Island. And there's Brent. Let's go, G. Yo. Merck, on a delightfully dark and rainy Sweden. Excellent. Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, you guys are going to see the sun again soon, right? There's Ava in Poland. Ralph. Hello, Ralph. John in Scotland. Another John in Ireland. There's Mary. Hello, Mary. And David and Elaine in England. Anja in Germany. There's Anthony in Adelaide, which is Australia, which means it's early in the morning for you. Or is it late? Yeah, it's early in the morning for you, like 16 hours ahead of us. Dorte, Denmark. Merck, the healing at the roots course have been most valuable so far, seeing I've been attempting to build my house on very shaky, insecure ground, constantly trying to just ignore the needs of the tribe. Very interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. It's an interesting approach to healing because you want to get to the root of it all. I mean, that's what non-duality is. Non-duality, which, by the way, I've just finished a book called Not To, which is this whole process of non-duality. It's been edited. I've got a couple of people who have read it now, so I'm going to be releasing it in the next maybe week or so, also as an audio book. Because all of this derives from all genuine healing is actually not healing at all. It's a recognition of what's already here. And it's inclusive. It doesn't exclude anything. A lot of spirituality tries to explain things away. It's all an illusion. There's nobody here. There's nothing you have to do. You don't have to take any action, which in fact is true. Right? It doesn't mean that there's nothing here. It doesn't mean that action doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that there is something that there's an illusion projected on. It means that something is, and that something must include everything. As I said earlier, the one mind includes the whole universe. You can't exclude it. That's why Huang Po said, the beings, the enlightened beings, Buddhas, right, and the ignorant, the unenlightened, the delusional are all the one mind. They are no different. When you see them from this center point, and that's the true non-dual understanding. That gives rise to healing modalities that are actually effective, because it doesn't start from the point of view that something is broken. It starts from the point of view that you are already perfect and need to realize it. You don't ever become perfect. You can't become perfect. You already are. We have to drop the idea that we're not. We have to drop the idea that we are a mortal person, subject to all of these ills and problems. And it's more than just changing your thinking, right? Thought changing is that's the law of attraction and all of that, metaphysical approach. I'm going to change my thought. You can't do that until you change the fundamental thought, which is, who are you? Whose thoughts are they that you're trying to change? Then you find out that that one never existed in the first place. And with that comes a complete absence of the feeling that I need to change anything, that I need to change my thinking or make a manifestation or make some kind of demonstration of power. It's all of that just falls away. For what? What's it for? I'm already the all. Don't forget, one means all. If there's oneness, it's also allness. If there's one mind, it means there's nothing but mind. One being, nothing but being. One God, there's nothing but God. And so healing takes on a completely different point of view. And in that book, I bring it down to the most fundamental, which is trying to illustrate that what we are experiencing is not ourselves, but our conditioning. And it doesn't dismiss the environment we're in. It just recognizes that what we have mistaken for ourselves is nothing other than the functioning of this organism within an environment. And it's not who you are. That's the revelation. And that's the genuine healing. It goes beyond healing to original innocence and wholeness. So I'm glad you're discovering that, Merck. Yay. Yeah, build my house. Very shaky ground. Yeah, it's very true. Whenever we try to build the foundations of our sense of identity on the person, which is nothing but just a functioning of the nervous system within an environment, yeah, we're on very shaky ground. We need to identify ourselves as that God. God is the ultimate. Its real meaning is the self. And the self is not something out there. It's not there's no higher self. There's only you. You are the higher self. So God is referring to the self, to you. This is one mind, one being. Hello, Henrik from Lake Constance. Sally. Hello, Sally. Good to see you. Hello, Anne. Wonderful to see you. Sosan. Tuoma. I'm Sosan Toma Christensen. Sorry if I butchered that. Lovely name. Welcome. I think I haven't seen that name before. I think you're new. You're in Switzerland. Wonderful. Hello, Lindsay. GP, much gratitude to you, GP. Oh, thank you. Mary Sykes, God is a trigger word. Thank you for recontextualizing. You're welcome. Yes, it's a very powerful word in that so much has been attributed to it that it doesn't deserve. I mean, it's become a tool of empire, a tool of control, a tool of shame and guilt. Right? And what are you going to do? So I can either not use it at all, right, or I can kind of reclaim it. Reclaim it, recontextualize it, give it the meaning it was really intended to have. Simply a word to refer to the ultimate authority, the ultimate power, the ultimate love, the ultimate everything, right? All power, all knowledge, all intelligence, all consciousness. Right? That's what it was meant to refer to. And then the sense of the ego, the sense of the person, projected on it all sorts of stuff and made that division, that separation. That, in fact, is what the story of Adam and Eve is really about. It's not about a couple of people actually getting, doing something bad and getting kicked out of paradise. Right? It's an illustration of this experience is one of losing paradise the moment there's a sense of separation. The moment I identify as the body mind, as the functioning that has no self, the sense of self identifying with it, that's the fall. And there's the immediate sense of falling out of grace, falling away from paradise. But God remains the same. The truth remains the same. It hasn't changed. It's an illusion. It's a delusion that has arisen and taken root. And this whole process of awakening is it's the rediscovery that you never actually lost it. It was just a belief. And that's the power of our minds. If I believe it into existence, and I can experience it for multiple lifetimes. So this is the last time, right? Awakening has begun. Its days are numbered. Oh, geez. Yes, it's a trigger. Namaskar to you, ME3. Lindsay, did GP get a haircut or tied back? Either way, looking good, as always. Haven't tuned in for a while. No, it's actually tied back. People want to see it more familiar. Yeah. Maybe one of these days I'll get a man bun, right? I have to have a man bun while I can play my tongue drum. For some reason, I think I'm the only guy who plays one of those tongue drums who doesn't have a man bun. So for some reason, it looks like the top of a garbage can to me. The tie off of the garbage bag. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that. So, okay. Does this feel more familiar? Somebody thinks I look younger with a haircut. Are you 20 years younger? Marty, good to see you. Good to see you. Ah, Lisa. Hello. Oh, we have a fashion style convo going. I did the big reveal. My Mephisto look. Looking great, GP. Hello, Shanae. Another Irishman, another fellow Irish woman. Let's see. Branch, Brother G, so much love for you. Is that scarcity and lack are only experience when we don't see our innate abundance as awareness? Yes. When we see ourselves as the person, as a person, an individualized soul separate from all other souls, lack and scarcity are inherent in it, as is unhappiness, discontent. And so from that state, everything that arises becomes painful, suffering. Every desire becomes a confirmation of my feeling of lack, rather than just a natural occurrence in life. I mean, desires come and go all the time. But if I'm identified with this person, right, it means the identification itself has cut me off from my experience of oneness with everything. That's the essential sense of lack, the essential sense of separation. And that a sense that comes from the identification of being of the finite self. I am the body. And in that moment arises the fear of lack and the fear of death. Because now that separation, I'm separate from everything. I'm separate from love. I'm separate from abundance. I'm separate from happiness. I'm separate from opportunity. I'm separate from creativity. It's a sense of separation that emerges, and it's not real. And this is where we get back to. There's no way you can heal it in the traditional sense of bringing it back together or reconnecting, because you can't reconnect to something you were never disconnected from in the first place. It's only in the mind. That is the psychological mind, the belief mind. And so that sense believed, because of the creative power of mind, creates an entire life where that appears to be the truth. And then within that mind, maybe there's a little, something happens and now, oh, it's all caused by thinking. So I've got to change my thinking, right? But you can't actually do as long as the source of that thinking is the sense of a separate self. You can't possibly change it. You can't possibly really do it. It could work for a while and then it will fall apart, as it has numerous times in the past. There have been times where the thought-changing stuff actually flourished around the turn of the 19th century. The end of the 19th century, the end of the 19th century, and the beginning of the 20th century. There's a period in there that was very rich metaphysically and healing and all sorts of stuff. This is where actually even hypnotherapy emerged there, and it just got completely smothered by basically scientific technology, which took over. It then had a reemergence, really in the 50s, 60s, 70s a bit, but it really took off in the 80s, and of course in the 2000s with the law of attraction and The Secret, it had another explosion, and that people were really into it, but it didn't sustain itself. It didn't work because underlying it was still the sense of being the egoic self. So now it was the law. This egoic self, am going to attract all the things that I want. You can see how that's kind of doomed to failure, right? If the I that's trying to do the attracting is itself just an idea, it's just a false thought, how in the world is it ever going to succeed? It can't. One must know oneself as the one mind, the one being, the one love, the one truth. At which point, what's there to attract? What's there to manifest? I'm already it. Then every moment becomes abundant. So yes, Brother Brent, that's exactly the case. But I caution people, whenever I teach about this kind of stuff, it takes me a while to actually do it. When I recognize there's a need there, we need to do it. I need to do it. But you can see how easily the false sense of self attaches itself to getting what it wants. And so the examination of the fundamental belief around scarcity and abundance and the like, it becomes not a quest for self-realization, but a quest for a technique to improve the life of the separate self. So I do my best to try to keep pointing back to the inherent nature of it. And you can't possibly hold on to the sense of abundance until you recognize yourself as the pure awareness, and that abundance is an attribute of you, not something you can possibly attain. You can't attain it. You can't attain what you never lost. You can't attain your own being. You can't attain yourself. You can't get up and walk over to yourself. And this is the thing that the normal discursive mind cannot grasp. It must be something other. And so you can see the psychological mind is based completely on the sense of separation, and that there's an I and there's an other. There is no other and there is no I. There is only the one being. And that one being, because of its oneness, doesn't even think of itself as I. It is beyond all categories and all language. You just are. Did I elucidate that a bit, Brent? Brench? Toy boat. Ida, hello. And fun English lessons. Saab in Paris, here with you, GP. Hello, Saab. In Paris. Oh, am I jealous? I haven't been there in 20 years. Oh, healing is a recognition of what's happened. Yes, it's a recognition of what is already. Healing's a misnomer because we have this idea of it as, it's another thing I should I want to redefine, I want to reclaim that term. It's a recognition of your wholeness. It is not going from broken to whole, broken to fixed. Right? That's how we think of it, because we think we're broken, or there's something here and I've got to make it better. The recognition of your inherent perfection unfolds what will appear to others to be a healing, to be some kind of transformation, some kind of improvement in one's life. But the reality is nothing's improved at all. It's just that the finite mind has grown less and the true mind is appearing more. Karina, so good to see you. Happy to catch you live. Yes, so good to see you. So good to see you. Mary, ooh, I would love your new book. Will be there. Will there be a physical copy as well? I would love to buy and share them with many friends. I'm looking into it. I'm looking into a physical book. It'll be like a print on demand kind of thing. It's just a whole lot more involved in making those happen. But I am thinking about it, because a lot of people I like physical books. I just live like a vagabond, so I can't really keep many of them, which is why I have so many Kindle. But I'd much rather have a shelf full of books. I just like the feel of them. So so happy to see you, Karina. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, Mary, that sounds wonderful. We will definitely look into printing, and in the meantime, we will get you on the list for when it comes out digitally. Lisa answering questions for me. By the way, Lisa is my business partner, co-founder of Om School, the producer of my show, and an absolute godsend to me. So, Barbara, greetings from snowy Sweden. My Sweden contingency. Mary says, last night at a friend's house, I was told about a woman's mother being stopped from knowing her own power because her power was stronger than the ones that are holding her back. Continued. Where's the rest of this, Mary? Mary, I don't see the rest. It says continued. Is this a cliffhanger? Are you still writing it? Is this a cliffhanger? I guess so. Shall I wait until I get the other half of it? Yes, I'll wait till I get the other half of it. But if I'm here for a while, I will try to answer. A woman's mother being stopped from knowing her own power. We're all stopped from being known power. I'll preface it with this, because if you truly are the one mind, the one being, the one God, then your power is infinite. You can't even call it power. It's your very being. God's thought is reality experienced. That's you. And so, yes, when we have a sense of a separate self, power seems to be very limited, very small. People will be fighting over power. People will be trying to inhibit others, control others. And that's what happens. And so the truth is, nobody's power is stronger than anybody else's power. That's just in belief. In belief, somebody believes they've got more of this, somebody believes they have more of that, right? And then they may do this. Really bring yourself to the truth of you, to the reality of you, to the absolute truth of you. You are not this person. You are not a separate being. You are not separate trying to become whole. Right? That's the progressive path. It's not the non-dual path. It's not the direct path. That is, I'm going to improve myself, and eventually I'm going to become godlike. It's endless. You can do that. I think Juan Po said again, right? You can do that for as many lifetimes as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, and you will not succeed, right? Because you can't succeed from the premise that I'm a separate being. That is the whole thrust. You are not that. You are this one being. You are the Buddha. I even did a course called Tapping on the Buddha. people practicing energy healing, improving their lives. Who are you tapping on? And if you realize that, you don't need to tap. You don't need anything. There's nothing more to correct. Anyway, hello, Babaji. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Henrik. Yesterday evening came an idea to ask, what am I without the feeling of I amness? Because when I sleep, it's gone. So existence continues without that sense. Yes, without the sense of I amness, you are the absolute, because you still are. Remember, the sense of I amness, on a very subtle, it's very subtle. It's the most subtle thing we experience. It's more subtle than space. It is simply this sense of presence. Well, if there's a sense of presence, there must be something there. In order to have an I amness, something must pre-exist the sense of I amness. That is, but is completely unknowable, not detectable or perceivable in the slightest. And so the tiniest, subtlest vibration of I am is perceived by the absolute. That absolute is the true being. But that absolute, completely imperceivable, is not separate from everything that is being perceived. How can it be? Everything derives from it. Nothing can exist without it, because that is the only thing that actually is. Everything else is a manifestation of it, an expression of it, an appearance of it to itself. Everything that appears draws its momentary appearance from that which actually is. That which is unknowable, imperceivable, irreducible, indivisible, undetectable, and yet you know you are. Because that which is that which recognizes that it is. And that's you. That's Satchidananda. That is the true Buddha, the true self, the true Christ, the realization. The real Christ is the mind of God. Let that mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. The true Christ was the realization of the one divine beingness, not a God that he paid a penalty for, if that even happened, right? The realization that you are that. I think it's the last verse in the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus says, "He who drinks of my mouth shall become as I am, and I shall be he." Wow. Wow. That's true Christianity. And that may give me a comment or two. If some evangelical sees God and wants to watch. I don't think he'll get this far into it, though. 38 minutes now. I don't think he'll get this far into it. Carl. Hi, GP. What are the signs of abiding in the I am in your life and body? Besides a sense of peace, how do I know I'm abiding properly and not just having an experience? Where does observing stop? Observing stops with the recognition that the observer cannot be observed, and that everything that observed is just an experience. So when you say, how do I know I'm not just having an experience? If it's an experience, it is. If it's not an experience, it isn't. It's you. You cannot be experienced, right? Get that. So you won't be seeking any kind of experience. That's the mistake you're making. There's a sense of peace. Okay, great, right? To whom is that sense of peace appearing? Can that be perceived? There's a sense of peace, so it's a perceivable thing, right? So who's perceiving it? Right? And then, some may present itself. Oh, this is it. this feeling here, or this image, or, well, no, I'm perceiving that too. Can the perceiver be perceived? This is where you leave the psychological mind behind. It is no longer of value to you. How do I know I'm abiding properly? You can't do anything else. Remember, it is not a process by which you attain enlightenment or you attain the abiding as the self. It's the recognition that you are the self and always have been. You can't be anything else. That recognition is it. And so where are you abiding? What is there for you to attain? Buddha made the statement. He said, in the great, unparalleled, unequaled enlightenment, I attained nothing. What was he saying? What? This is what we're all after, the great Anatura Samyak Sambodhi, the great, unparalleled enlightenment. What was he saying? I attained nothing. I was always that. So don't put your attention on what you're on any particular experience, and recognize that you cannot experience yourself. You are not an experience. You're just here. You just are. The me, the sense, no, not the sense. That which is actually hearing my words right now is the one God, the truth, the reality of your being. So you can't not abide properly. The idea that you could abide properly is just a thought. It couldn't, right? Or that you have to abide properly. Am I doing it right? It's just a thought. That's all it is. There's nobody there. Mooji put it beautifully. He said, I am. Before the idea that I could forget or the idea that I needed to remember was believed. He didn't even say that the I am believed it. The idea of a believer of I'm not it, I need to pursue it, I need to get it, I need to become enlightened. Even the sense that there is a believer of it is a belief. The believer and the belief are one. You're not even the believer of it. Have I gone too far? I don't know. I'm feeling very absolute today. I'm not. That's what I like about satsang. I don't have to step back and always just work with people as they are. Although questions come up, I'm good. Fox just said the man bun has proved the most powerful hairstyle, proven by science. All right, I'm going to have to do it. I did have dreadlocks once, even with my what wasn't it wasn't completely white at that point, but a girlfriend I had put me in dreadlocks. It was not my look, for sure. White-haired dreadlocks was kind of odd. Anyway, Carl, are you seeing it? Right. The I am is the ultimate perceiver. That's all you have to know. And the ultimate perceiver cannot be perceived. Do not believe in anything other than that. That's the direct path. There's nothing other. You are already that. Your mind, the psychological mind, will argue against that until the cows come home. Let it. You don't have to convince it. Who cares? Who cares what it has to say? It's just babbling on. It's just a record playing. Great question, though. I'm so glad you brought it up. Scott, hey, GP. So if I include everything, including I, the conditioned thoughts and emotions which I, consciousness, am aware of, this means I have no preference, goals, or agendas. I am complete. Yes, the I am has no preferences. It has no goals. It has no vested interest in anything. It has no agenda. It's pure awareness. pure awareness. Now, that doesn't mean that goals don't appear and positions show up, right? If you're, political positions, economic, decisions made during life, you just realize that there's nobody doing it. There's nobody making it. It's not it's that sense of a particular preference is just something that's appearing. It's just part of the conditioning in human life. But I have no vested interest in it. I don't own it. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, great. So the I am is completely free of all of that. Think of pure awareness as your I. The I is not deciding what light is going to get in and what's not. It's just collecting the light. It has no preference. It has no judgments. It has no interest, really. It's just collecting light. That's a good metaphor for pure awareness. It's simply, anything that gets in is already in, isn't it? Right? If awareness didn't want something in, it wouldn't be here. But everything just comes, right? And it doesn't matter what, or it doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter how big or how small. Boom, it's there. Because awareness is this just dimensionless awareness. And that is what you are. I have to use the word awareness, and then immediately our minds go, oh, we're talking about awareness, and now we're looking at awareness. But it's you. It is you. The real you has no preferences, has no vested interest in any outcome. It sets no goals. It makes no plans. And so there's no identification with any of that. But it is still one with. You don't dismiss all that stuff, because that becomes the ego says, okay, I'm not going to make any plans. I'm not going to make any goals. That's the ego trying to be the self, appropriating non-dual language to try to acquire something. Right? You're not any of this stuff. You're open. All of it can happen. And at the same time, none of it can be there without you. And so it is simply a universe that has been created that you're witnessing, that has come out of you, and you are one with, but you have no identification with. It is simply the appearance of you in form. Does that answer it for you, Scott? Did that get it? It's cool. Wow. I'm beginning to, let's see, where did I, oh, there you are, there. Great, with hair tied back. Well, thank you. Thank you, Shanae. That's great. I should listen to people who have more style sense than I do, because I have none. And man bun proven to be powerful, proven by science. Ella, hello, good to see you. Peter in Italy. Hello, Peter. Recognizing the difference between requesting a technique or the actual awareness, says Lisa. Yes. Continuing. The difference between a technique, which is an attempt to make a change take place, and the recognition of what you actually are. The recognition brings about a transformation of the experience, which will then call healing. But that's not what it is, because nothing was broken in the first place. And this was just an appearance. It was appearance of the dominant thought at the time. When that's gone, the appearance changes. Oh, Scott continued. When you say, see, and recognize conditioning to find beneath what is real, I guess there could not be a preference, but just an understanding of the illusion and unsatisfactoriness of it. Yes. When you understand the illusion, you find that, of course, it's unsatisfactory because it's an illusion. I'm never going to get a drink of water from that mirage. Once the illusion is gone, I drop it. And you realize that the unsatisfactoriness was a result of the fact of trying to get from something what it couldn't give, trying to make a reality of something that is only an appearance of reality, a fluctuating appearance of reality, by the way. What it appears is never the substance of it. It's the shadow of it. It's a reflection of it. It's the moon reflected on the water. When the mind is still and peaceful, you see the moon perfectly, but the reflection is never the moon. The universe is a reflection of yourself. It is not a thing. You can't get anything from it any more than you can go on a date with an image in a mirror. You can't do it. There's nothing there to get. You can't get your thirst quenched by a picture of a glass of water. You can't eat the menu. It is an appearance. I'm drawing your attention to that which is not an appearance, that which is the substance of everything that does appear. And everything that appears, though, is not separate from it. It isn't an entity that exists independently from it. There's no entity there at all, any more than there's an entity in the mirage in the desert. There's just heat and sun and light. And where do they all come from? They originate with the perceiver of them. There is no out there. There is no world. There's no universe. That is, there's no universe separate from the mind of God, thinking about itself, and the resulting thinking is the universe. That's one way you could put it. Hopefully I covered all of that for you, Scott. So sad. One mind, one being. Why couldn't we have been born already at least half conscious? Why the thick veil? It is the oneness of the mind that is the veil. Look carefully, Susan. Look carefully. You see the veil. Right? Is the veil, the sense of a veil means it's hiding something from me. But where are you? Which side of the veil are you on? Okay. Is it actually hiding you from you? Could it hide you from you? The one that sees the veil. There's just this belief that somehow the one I'm seeking is on the other side of the veil. But isn't it yourself that you're seeking? Aren't you the one looking at the veil? So you see the idea that I've been made separate and I've got to somehow become rejoined with myself. And to do that, I've got to get past this veil. That is the veil. That belief is the veil, that you are something other than the one looking. What you are looking for is where you are looking from. Hidden in plain sight. You, the one that's looking, the one that's hearing my words, is the one mind, is the one being. There's just a thought that says otherwise. And that one thought creates the entire illusion. One thought. It's like, your thumb, hold it up to the sky and it can block the entire sun. But it's just that one thought that I am separate from myself. There's nothing but the one. If there's nothing but the one, there's no veil. There's no illusion. There's no mirage. There's nothing other than that one. So there cannot be an other. There cannot be a believer of a false idea. There cannot be anybody blocked or veiled. You cannot veil yourself. How can you? Can you possibly put anything in between you and you? So the veil is an illusion. The illusion based on the idea that I somehow am out there. The self, the true self, pure awareness, God, the one being, is somehow out there somewhere, and I have to get to it. Who's that I? Is it not you you're looking for? Well, where are you? Which side of the veil? Which side of the lens of perception are you on? Ah, you're already that. You are already that. This is the great realization. This is the Christ consciousness. This is the mind of God. This is the Buddha, the awakened one. I've never been anything other than that. And you just see how the mind continually tries to reproduce somebody who is separate, but it's only in the mind. It's not a reality. Thank you, Sosan. Did I say that right? Sosan? Oh, I get hearts and stars. Yeah, hearts and stars from Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Mary Sykes, it is there. Don't know why you can't see the rest. I will repeat it again. Okay. Hope you can see it this time. Okay, let me go down there and find you, Mary. See what you're talking about here, about God, that we are coming out of the Stone Ages. Thank you. Where's the rest? Let's go back, see if I can find the original one from Mary. From Mary. I can't find the original. Is it all the way down to the bottom? I'll have to run across it. Yeah, sometimes the technology fails. I lost her. Can't see it. Oscar, you are not a separate being trying to become whole. Yeah. The belief is that we are. And if I believe that I am, then that's what I experience. But if you want to take it all the way, even the one who believes that is a perception. You're not even the believer. Hopefully I haven't gone too far on that one. Wow, man. Yeah. Here about God, that we are coming out of the Stone Ages. We are coming out of we're finally outgrowing the Bronze Age, right? The sense of a separate self, which was most acute in the Abrahamic religions, which became the most materialistic religions in the history of the planet. But you have that even in those that are not so aggressive, like Hinduism and the like. But yes, we're coming out of that at long last. Ella, GP, can you elaborate? Drinking from Jesus' mouth words? Yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful expression. The out of the mouth of babes you have perfected praise, and there's the Jesus himself on being tempted, right? Turn these stones into bread. He says, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And so when he started drinking of my mouth, he's talking about God. He's not talking about a person. And he who drinks from my mouth will become as I, God, am, and I shall be he. I, God, will be him, her. You follow? We have Jesus' words, we think of it in terms of the person, right? Again, our sense of personhood projecting on what in fact was the appearance of God, as everything is, speaking as God, right? But then misinterpreted to be a person. When Christ said I, he was not referring to the body. He was not referring to this person. I and my Father are one. If you've seen me, you have seen the Father. He who drinks of my mouth shall become as I am. I go unto my Father. I mean, all over the place, he says it, but it's been interpreted to be a person, right? An isolated, separate person. Of course, that's what the ego is going to project on it. It's going to project a person and then invent this elaborate and horrid mythology and religious practices, right? Right, to justify, cruelty and hatred and all sorts of other horrible things. One quick second. Started getting cold in here, and I want to turn on the heat. So I'm getting cold. So let's see. Does that help, Ella? Or everybody, actually. I mean, it's the name. That's what Paul meant. Let that mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. That's what about the mind of God. And it just got, it's just the disciples understood very little of what he was saying. It seemed the day of Pentecost, it seemed like some of them got it, right? That the revelation took place. But even then, afterwards, the writings are kind of sporadic. There was kind of this vacillation between trying to prove that he was the Jewish Messiah and going through all sorts of weird stuff in order to try to do that, none of which were actually real, and just kind of evolving over time from being, for them, the guy who was going to be the next king of Israel, going to kick out the Romans, and they're going to reestablish Israel as a nation. Once it didn't happen, well, now what do we do, right? And it just kind of evolved, right, from just somebody ordained by God, right, for a mission, to somebody who earned a place in heaven at the right hand of God, to somebody who actually came from God to God. It's a clear progression that had happened over the following 200 years. And so you could see it was just an idea about it. It was a projection of the false sense of self. He was never talking about that. So again, I may get some nasty comments by Christians, especially if I bring this one out as an excerpt and mention the word Jesus. Fortunately, I don't get them that many. Resonating deeply, G. Thank you. You're welcome, Brent. Asgur. Jesus' mouth means that you know that you are the I am as way Jesus knows it, and you realize that you already have the Christ consciousness. I would say you don't have the Christ consciousness. You are the Christ consciousness. I always have to get it back to being. One being. The mind of Christ is not the sense of having the mind of Christ. It's the sense of being the mind of Christ. Being. Pound that into your little heads. When you know that you are the I am, who's knowing that they are the I am? It has to be the I am that knows it. Otherwise, it's a false sense of self trying to imitate the I am. Oh, I know I am the self. Only the self can say I am the self. Only God can say I am God. And I keep pointing you back to the reality that is always speaking, so that when you say, I am that one consciousness, I am the self, it is the self that is saying it, and not an approximation of the ego. Immerse yourself in the absolute truth of your being. Fox's mind is blown. Good. You don't need it anyway. And so when Jesus would tell us that you will do even greater things than what I do, paraphrased, he means that what you will do cannot be put into human language, therefore greater. Correct. And he said, you'll do even greater. The works that I do show you do also, and you'll do even greater works. And then he says, why? Because I go unto my Father. Again, he's not talking about him personally going off to heaven. He's talking about you, the sense of I, going back home to its source. The disconnection falling away. You've never been anything other than that. Again, another mystical statement of his. No one ascends up into heaven save he who came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven. What's he saying? What's he talking? He's saying exactly that. You don't ascend up there. The only thing you can ascend there is that which came from there. Even that which is already always there. That's the reality. That's the truth of your being. That is the real you. I love where it's going today. I love where it's going today. I love reclaiming Christianity. Oscar, there's no human left after that realization, but rather only the self left. Whatever you do, it's done by that. Right. There's no you doing anything. Right. When you have a dream at night and you're doing something, are you actually doing anything? What's the substance of it? There's a doing apparently happening. There's something happening. But there's nobody actually doing it. That's why dream is used so often as a good metaphor for this. Right? There's nobody doing anything. Right? Any more than, you're watching a movie on a screen or on your computer screen. There's nobody doing anything. It's just an appearance of things. All of experience is that. The self isn't doing anything. It is just being the self. And the nature of the self is this explosion of creative self-expression. And nothing in the expression exists independently of it. It has no inherent self in itself. It is reflecting the self. And therefore, there's no one is doing anything, yet everything is being done. Now, when the ego grabs a hold of that, it's, oh, I'm not the doer. It gets confused, first off, and not the doer, and then tries to not do. Okay, I'm not going to do. Nobody's doing. It's a complete misunderstanding. The non-action that they talk about Lao Tzu talks about in the Tao, the Tao Te Ching, is it's spontaneous action. It is uncalculated action. It's spontaneous. It's jazz. Right? So there's no deliberation going. It's just the oneness of being, right? Is internally absolutely perfectly harmonious. How could it not be? There's only one, and that perfect harmonious oneness, which you can't even call harmonious because there's not two there, manifests itself as infinite harmony, the ultimate symphony, the universe, the one song, all held together, all manifesting this one essential, unchanging, totally harmonious being. So whatever you do, yes, the you that appears is not doing anything. It's just the way it appears. Any more than the guy in your dream is actually doing anything. It's all just appearances. Find that which is not an appearance. That's why it's greater. Amen. There's no out because there's no in. Very good. Yes. There's not even an inner and an outer. Yeah, that too is just, it's a convention. So I talk about inward, focusing your attention inward. You begin to realize that, what is it? That the wall between in and out disappears. There isn't an in or an out. Just a reference point. It's a language convention we have to use temporarily. Oh boy, T4. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but hello. Hey G. Wondering how we can perform creative things we give entirely to the creator self without understanding it ourselves, like you did with coding and many musicians and artists do. Well, first, see if there's any kind of desire on your part to perform creative things, right? Your life is already a creative expression. That's all it is. It's an appearance of that creative self, as it is. Okay? Now, any desire to make it greater or more creative or bigger, right, cannot possibly be arising from the true self, because it has no desire like that. It has no need for anything other than itself. So the desire and fulfillment that arise are simply appearing on this screen. They're part of the harmony, right? The unity, the singularity of the self appearing as harmonious interactions about, and the pairs of opposites, night and day, up and down, male and female. All of those things are the appearance of the one as many in this wonderful dance of emptiness. So, in my case, when you're talking about the coding and also the music, I just remember one day started hearing music, and it was even better music than I could play. I was a struggle to write it down because there wasn't computers at that point, right? I had to actually literally write it down. And yes, jazz musicians all the time. Every performance is completely spontaneous. So, if you the desire, transform that desire to perform creative things into the desire to find the absolute source of all creativity. Once you find that, and you realize you are that, you are one with that, you'll see everything you are experiencing as that creative output, and you won't have a preference for one kind of creative output other than another. It won't matter if it's, coding or music or art or any of these things, which, we look at and go, these are obviously really creative things, right? But so is knowing how to talk to your child. So is, making yourself an almond milk latte. So is, setting up the candles so the scene looks kind of nice with my, salt lamp and the stuff behind me. You can't see the pictures on the back. That was my granddaughter and I yesterday drawing monsters. It's a little blurry. It looks like it might be something important, but it isn't. Right? All creative, right? And the one on, that one there is mine. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff, but but that's creative, isn't it? Right? So go to the source of all creativity, find that it is you, and you'll find that everything is creative, and it may open some new creative doors that you didn't know were available to you. Because every single moment is the moment of creation. The self didn't create at a particular time and now is sitting back and watching it. Creation is the absolute right now spontaneous appearing of the self as form. There's no past, there's no future, right? It is jazz. It is completely and spontaneously appearing in this moment, right? And the idea that it had a past is just an idea. The idea that this has a future, just an idea. There's no inherent being in anything that is perceived. There's no self in what is being perceived, what is being created. And so you'll see that your entire life, just as it is, has been nothing but this constant creative expression of the one self. You are that self. Identify with that, and all the rest will take care of itself. Thank you. Something I can't possibly pronounce. Lovely, lovely. Colleen, after the honeymoon faded, I feel a bit of loneliness. It's weird. It doesn't have a story. This road is solitary. Not really seeking anymore, but want to be around people who get it. Perfectly natural, right? And by the honeymoon fading, I have to, I guess that means that maybe the ecstasy of a realization has kind of faded off, and suddenly now all the rest of human life, But the real mission here is to see that all the rest of human life and the ecstatic moments are one. They are both there. How could there be an ecstatic moment if there hadn't been some moment of suffering that it was the contrast to? To truly grasp non-duality, both sides have to be embraced. Both the sadness and the ecstasy, the loneliness and the intimacy, right? The solitude and the celebration of unity, of friendship, of the Sangha. Right? When you see that the self and enlightenment is neither one nor the other, but transcends both and embraces both, you've stepped into the true realm of the non-dual, of the not two. Remember I said in the beginning, both the enlightened beings, all the Buddhas and sages of all time, and all the sentient beings, from the salamander, the banana slug, or the deluded human, are all the one mind. If you make any distinction whatsoever, you've limited the self. You've given it a preference. It is one. It is all the one. Even the stuff that we just can't understand why it's happening. Embrace it all as yourself. This is a great realization. The first major awakening, even an awakening that sticks, right? That stays, the aperture opens. It's the sense that there's nothing but myself. There's nothing but God. There is absolutely nothing else. It's ecstatic. And then you notice all around you are suffering beings. Well, if there's nothing other than that one, and I am that one, then these suffering beings are me. This is my suffering. That recognition is the birth of the bodhisattva, the one who's no longer, oh, it's all me. And now, in myself, I am bringing all sentient beings out of suffering. Not because there are a reality of sentient beings, but because they're all me. And I'm embracing all of it. The first is the enlightenment of the mind. The second is the enlightenment of the heart, which is the true oneness of all being, the ultimate of which becomes simply the ordinary human being. The total embrace of the ordinary human being. Or as Buddha put it, the ordinary human being is the Buddha. You are the Buddha. Beautiful, Colleen. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Andrew, as we accountants continually tell the client when they query the bill, it is what it is. Hi, Lamont. Hello to you too. Why is the am-ness vibration not as powerful as the other vibrations? It's simply the most subtle. It's just the most subtle, right? It is actually the vibration that everything else is made of. You can think of the I am, the I am-ness as Om, which is the source of all sound. I am is the source of all manifestation. It is the manifestation. Every vibration, those that seem really rock solid and gross to those that are incredibly subtle, are all different vibrations of the I am. And the I am itself is the firstborn of the Father, which is the absolute. And so it is, it's like, when they split the atom, suddenly we have the atomic bomb, right? The tiniest little thing appears to be not powerful, but then you find out it is. Right? It's the same thing. The I am, which appears to be just this subtle, passive energy, is in fact the source of everything else. Everything else is just a different vibration of that single thing. And it itself is the firstborn. It is the manifestation or the expression of that which is beyond all, which is not a vibration. It is not even the I am-ness. Is that answered for you, Lamont? Scott, still hard to reconcile I, no vested interest in outcomes, and simultaneously I am a separate I with a vested interest and desire to help reduce suffering in the world. Just stay with that desire to reduce suffering in the world. That's fine, right? Don't try to turn this into a game, because your mind can't solve this. It's too hard. It's too outside of it. Come back to that which is watching, right? And of course, isn't that I was just saying, that's all suffering is my suffering. So wanting to reduce suffering in the world, right? Why do you want to do that? Because the suffering of others is causing you suffering. You're not separate. And how do you reduce suffering in the world? Well, you start by reducing your own. And in that, finding the way in which suffering is reduced, you then become the vehicle for others' suffering to be reduced. And that's what's known as compassion. Find the truth in you, and you will see it in everyone. And your mere presence will reduce suffering. And those that are seeking, have consciously become aware that they are seeking the end of suffering, will find you. They go, whoa, dude, what have you got? So, and then just let go of the sense that somehow you have to reduce suffering in the world. Right? And just be with the desire to reduce suffering. And where does that come from? Well, it has to come from that pure heart of love. It's your nature as love that manifests as a desire to reduce suffering. Now, let's say all suffering in the world has been eliminated. Is that love now not there? Does it need the suffering to be love? Oh, ponder this deeply. And puzzle over it. Struggle with, really wrestle with this idea of an I as a pure I am, and this strong sense of the I with a vested interest in outcome. And some of those vested interests in outcome are very personal and material and gross, right? I want more money, or I want better this or that. And others are very rarefied and very beautiful. I want to reduce suffering in the world. I want to help as many people as I possibly can. Are they both not emanating from this same place? Is not the same consciousness aware of both? Of course it is. Right? Would you regard one as superior to the other? You could, reducing suffering. Which one would you rather commit your life to? Reducing suffering, or acquiring, more money, having, being a private equity firm or something, right? And you don't have to even judge it. Which one feels more real to you? Well, that's the direction you go. Notice you could do that without judging anything, right? I'm just drawn to this. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And so now you can follow that natural inclination, or recognize where that natural inclination is coming from and where it's leading you to, which is right back to the place that it's coming from. I'm really enjoying myself today. I'm loving these questions. Thank you all. I'm so loving this satsang. Please keep them coming. Hello, Dale. Dale tried his hardest to introduce me to the world of Bitcoin, but I was just too dense. But thanks for trying, Dale. Did I miss something? Oh, Scott, it was just there twice. Okay. I am that I am. Yes, you are that I am. Not the personal sense I am. You are that I am. The same I am that Moses ran across and said, oh, wait a minute. I am that I am. The burning bush, that's me. I'm the one that's burning. The voice inside the burning bush, that's me. And it manifested in his particular thing. Moses didn't exist either. It's another mythological character, but somebody wrote that, who saw that, and gave this story as a kind of a breadcrumb for us to follow, which you would in that world. If he'd been in India, wouldn't have had to. You could have just said it. Whoops, there's Mahmoud talking to Oscar, Mahmoud talking to Asgar. And I think both of them are Turkish, so I can't understand what he said. Nicole, the moment you realize you have always been complete is something that can't quite be put into words. The realization of I am everything is the most amazing thing I never even could have imagined. You're God's. Yes. Beautiful. Yes. How can you put it into words? It doesn't have any. It's just me. It's the only word I like. It's my favorite word. What is it? It's me. Well, what's that? I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just me. Tell you what, find it out. We won't have to describe it. We'll just go have tea or a beer or something. Ye are God's. Yes. Mary Sykes. The talk last night about Prince's mother. So they were continue. It came up again. Where is the last of it, Mary? Mary. Oh, okay. The talk last night about a friend's mother being stopped by evil beings from knowing her own power because her power was stronger than the evil ones. So they were, if she continued to believe this, she would always feel powerless. And she is really convinced of this. Is there more to it? No. Okay, I think I got that. I got it. Okay. She believes herself to be controlled by evil spirits. It's your belief. That's all I can say. There are no objective beings at all. There's no evil spirits. There's no good spirits. There's no angels. There's no, please don't, those of you, don't turn me off yet. There are no ascended masters. There are no fifth dimensional beings. There are the experience of them, right? And it's okay to call them angels or interdimensional beings if you realize they're just myself. That's all there is to it. And there are many dimensions to life. There's all sorts of different dimensions, right? But there's no entities. There's no self other than the one self. So an angel can appear to me. It'll be me. It will be me appearing to myself. Now, the same is true by the idea of evil beings, evil spirits that can take us over, right? As long as there's a sense that there is an other, that other can be angelic or it can be a gargoyle. It can be an angel or it can be a demon. Okay? And it's all my own belief. But people get vested in those beliefs. Right? There might even, as I suspect with her, there's a particular sense of she has a reason to not exercise her own power, and it has nothing to do with the evil spirit. She doesn't want to. She likes the idea that somehow she's been singled out by these beings because she's so powerful. I can sense some ego identity in there too, that she's not just a hapless victim. There's a reason why she wants to hold on to this story. Right? And I could be wrong. I'm just kind of picking that thing up. Why it'd be very difficult to show her that no, it's all you. There's nobody there. There are no evil beings. There are no angelic beings, not as absolute realities, only as thought forms, only as influences within our own mind according to our own beliefs. Who are you? You are not somebody weak or powerful that needs to be dominated or celebrated. None of the above. David and Elaine, wonderful and fundamental satsang to start the new year. We are the Alpha and Omega and everything in between. Yes. Deep thanks and gratitude, G. Ella, Jesus' words, and that God talking is actually you. Yes, we just think it's a God out there. We projected ourselves onto the notion of an ultimate other. Nicole, the evolving consciousness. Well, strictly speaking, consciousness does not evolve. How can it? It's already absolute and infinite. The infinite doesn't evolve. But the manifestation of it is in constant evolution. Constant evolution. Never stops. It is never the same twice. That river is never the same twice. Ava, as Oscar told you, are not a separate being trying to become whole. Yes, of course, I'm awareness in which the experience of being a separate person trying to become whole happens. Does that make sense? Yes, that's exactly right. The sense of it, right? But seeing it, we go, oh, there's nothing there. There's nobody trying to become whole. It's a belief. There's nobody there. There's no mirage. There's no water there. There's no separate self. There's no believer of the false. There can't be. That would mean there had to be something other than the one mind, which means there is not even a believer of the false. There's not even somebody who believes themselves to be separate. It's just a picture in the mind, a mirage. There's no actual believer of it. Not even you. You can't be anything other than perfect. Sorry. There's nothing for you to attain. Luz, hi, could you tell me a little bit about the dark side of the Force portrayed in Star Wars? And why they reject the light in exchange for powers? Black musicians, Illuminati, archons, demons. Well, yeah, the sense of the ego wants to be empowered because it doesn't have any. The sense of a separate self, because it is not true, it is not actually a self, it can never, ever feel secure. It can never feel safe. It can never feel content, right? And so as a result, it seeks power from outside itself. Political power, there's no difference. You know, Star Wars kind of combined those two, right? Because the Sith Lord was also the emperor, right? And so, yes, and seeking city powers has been warned against by every genuine sage that's ever existed. It is the desire to get power outside of myself. That is the ego. So black magicians and voodoo and any of the things that try to influence or harm others, right, and not just be completely within themselves is a mistake. And so that's why it's portrayed as the dark side of the Force. And interestingly enough, I don't know how much of this Joseph Campbell understood or George Lucas understood, but I know that he read everything from Joseph Campbell, who actually consulted with him for creating this mythology of Luke Skywalker and the like, and confronting the dark side. Well, the ultimate, the story was that Luke had to confront his own dark side. The one scene where he takes off Darth Vader's helmet and it's him, and then he has to decide exactly what he's going to do, and he finally decides. And he finally said he would rather die than go to the dark side. It's a representation of the struggle we all have with the personal sense of being, with the egoic sense of being. Now, the beauty of non-dual teaching is you don't have to go through a dark night of the soul to get there. You don't have to go through Jedi training. You have to realize that it was never true in the first place. That there is no power there. There's nothing to gain. The mirage has no water. And the seeking of it will always be the egoic sense, the sense of a separate self trying to fill itself up, which it cannot possibly do because it's only a sense. It's not the self. Does that help, Luz? Does that explain it? I want to try to keep it simple because it's all founded on the belief. The belief I'm a separate self gives rise to the idea that there's something out there that's going to make me better. And that can become, esoteric practices, right? It can become, black magic, or it can be the lust for success, political power, money, right? Every outside of me. No, there's no looking inside for that. Right? It's always some kind of esoteric power over other. The environment, my circumstances, even if it's more innocuous, it's not trying to hurt somebody, it's just trying to get something. You can see where it's all coming from the same place. And that sense isn't you. And that's why it gets, I can put it aside. I'm not going to seek the power. Why should I? I am the power. Lindsay, that is a mystery to me. Yeah, you are a mystery to you. Right. That which is you are a mystery. You have to be. And I mean mystery or mysterious or mystic in the highest sense of the word. It means something that is just known. It is not a subject-object relationship. It's not one thing knowing another. It's me knowing me. So that's the mystery. I just am. I'm all of this. How? I don't know. Well, there is no how. It didn't come from someplace. It wasn't created. There was no God doing it. It's simply what is. Nothing gets more mysterious than that. It just is this way. Why? I don't know. It just is. But it sure is great. Lindsay, I want that. Lindsay, you are that. Yes. So you can't want what you already are. You can't want what you already have. I got this jug of water here, right? Oh, I want a jug of water. God, I really need a jug of water. I love you guys. I want to know that I am that. Well, this is how you do it. Thanks for the encouragement. Yeah, of course we do, right? So don't see it as a quest in the sense of how do I know that? Instead, go, okay, there's a sense here that I don't know. What's that? Let's look at that. Let's look at it more closely. There's a sense that I don't know, yet G keeps telling me I already do know. I'm going to puzzle over this. I am that already. Right? And if I am that, then I know that I am that. But I don't seem to know that I am that. Right? Well, now, where's your attention go? Right? You see the essential thing. I am that, yet I think that I'm not. Well, who's that I that's thinking that it's not? Is that I perceivable? Say, oh yeah, it's like this feeling that I don't know. Okay, it's a feeling. I'm perceiving that feeling. So that feeling can't be me. It's just a feeling. It's a thought. It's an idea. It's an assumption. Who believes it? I believe it. Well, who's that I that believes it? That thought, I believe it. Isn't that being perceived by something else? Okay, so that's just a thought too. Are you following what I'm doing here, Lindsay? Because you're going to have to do it for yourself and keep doing it until the egg cracks open. And it will, right? Because truth is self-sustained. The falsity is only sustained for as long as it's believed. And as you begin to dismantle not the belief, but the belief in the believer. We think of ourselves, I'm the believer and I'm ridding myself of false thoughts. That's the the change thought approach. Right? I'm going right for the juggler. Eradicate the belief in a believer. I am the self, and I know it. God damn it. Even though my mind keeps telling me I don't. My mind's not telling me the truth. Of course I know that I am. Of course I know that I am. I know I'm on this side of the lens. I know I'm perceiving all of this. I know I can't perceive me. So every time the mind tries to present a version of me as something knowable, it's not me. Hence the say, I cannot know myself as anything other than myself. I can only know myself as myself with no reference to anything else. And then you discover, I know I am that. Of course you do. How could you not? But not knowing the way the mind knows, knowing the way the self knows. Oh, it's so subtle and so beautiful. And you're gonna get it. The only way out is in. And you find that the out is the in, and the in is the out. Sup, PM. Conversation going on. Wow, that's beautiful. It says T4I something 4, or T4LI something. That's beautiful. Thank you. I struggle to get all that's whirling around my head onto paper. When I have something to record it on, it's gone. I feel I can never translate it to this world. Also, the name is Talisa. Talisa. Very, very good. You know, that's always going to be the case. Like I said, when I started writing music, it was better. The music was better than I could play. I had to practice really hard to be able to play the things I could hear. It's still the case. I've never been able. I've never been up. And vision is always going to be one step ahead. That's how evolution takes place. That's how growth takes place. I know any artist who's 100% satisfied. It doesn't matter where you are on the scale, whether you're a Da Vinci or my daughter or my granddaughter, scribbling on the board, on the whiteboard. Right? It's the importance is the self-expression, and recognizing that it's not up to you to even try to translate it. Because right? What are you actually doing? What is it that you're actually offering? It's yourself. That's all we ever offer. It's ourselves. Whatever form something might take, it's simply myself. That's all I have to give is myself, because it's all I got. I don't have anything. I don't have anything else. Delissa, thank you for helping me. I see now. I see now just the clever way you put the 4s and the S's and very good. The Tao that can't be told is not the eternal Tao. Amen. Amen. And you guys that's not fair. You're speaking Turkish, I think. That's not fair. I don't know what you're saying about me. You could be calling me ugly and I need a man bun. I am Drifter. Oneness seems to call for experience with no limits. The future and past have limits. And if we try to change suffering, is it really a truth of now? Or is it a pull to the future or past? This is subtle and it's important. The desire to end suffering is the desire to know the self. They are one and the same. But you can't just stop at, I want to know the self, and ignore suffering. This is what's so important. This is the great gift of the Buddha, and especially Zen Buddhism, that it is not an ignoring of it. Right? So on one hand, you recognize and see through the unreality. You see through the imagined reality of suffering. You see the cause of suffering is that sense of self, but you also see that there is no other. And so suffering is not ignored. We do not become cold. This is not Neo-Aveda. This is not just saying, oh, it's all an illusion, so I don't need to care. It's who's going to go. And there's plenty of teachers that do it that way. It misses the point. You're stuck in the absolute. We must embrace all suffering as my suffering and redeem it. That's the path of the bodhisattva. Ending all suffering is any sense I have remaining that there's anything other than me, the one self, not the personal me, but the true me. And in there is no suffering. All of suffering disappears. It's the bodhisattva vow. Suffering beings are numberless. I vow to save them all. And having saved all beings from suffering, no being has been saved. Pure mystical statement, but you get it. This is the path that leads. Remember, the bodhisattva is the path that leads to Buddhahood. Just be it. You can't help but be it. Creative Revolution. Hello, Susanna. Nice lighting, G. This is trippy. I was having these thoughts today on my walk. Very good. Hendrik, I love your clarity, especially to other beings, angels, etc. Yeah, it's not a denial of it. It's not a denial of experience. Of course, we experience all sorts of things. But really, what's the difference if I have a vision of an angelic being, or I'm talking to somebody in a coffee shop who may or may not look so angelic? It's an experience of other, right? If I dissolve that into an experience, into the constant experience of one, well, yeah, the angelic beings, fine. Multidimensional beings, fine. Aliens, cool, right? They're all myself. Nothing is lost. The expression of it, there's no limit on the expression it can take. We have this very small idea, right? That this is it, and okay, it's not in my perception, so it must be some otherworldly critter. I mean, it's just we're kind of caught in this thing, but that veil's falling away. It's falling away. This is trippy. Suzanne is trippy. Hello, Jonas. Good to see you. Thank you for another beautiful satsang. You're welcome. Ava, thank you, G, for your answer today. There is in me a feeling of confusion about everything, and yes, it's only a feeling. And thank you for this precious time of satsang. You're very welcome. Sending you all love today, says, I am Drifter. Thanks for being present for this experience. Fox says, sheesh. I guess that's a good sheesh. Sheesh. I'm hoping that's a good one. So I have to block you. I don't accept any negative comments. Well, look at this. I've gotten to the end of the queue, and it's not even 2 hours yet. Fine. Mary says, thank you. Matt, hello, Matt. Gratitude. And I'm grateful for all of you. I am deeply grateful for all of you. I mean, how could I possibly do teaching if there's nobody to teach? I need you as much as you need me. We all need each other. But seriously, I do so appreciate all of the deep, sincere desire I see reflected in you all to truly know the truth. That's what's guiding you. Right? I'm one voice of many, one that's here now and could be gone tomorrow. But the true voice is the voice in your own heart. That's what's really leading you. And whether I'm here or not, it will continue to lead you. You cannot possibly lose it, okay? Because it is the very heart of you. Thank you so much, GP. You're so kind and awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you very much. All right, all my dear friends. It is so good to be able to spend with you. I love it when you go for the juggler. Thank you, awake, not woke. Yes, yes. It's kind of sad to cut it back to every other week, but I just had to do it, and thanks to Lisa for helping me through it. So, thank you all. Thank you all so much. I love you all. Namaste.